The Maple Leafs are looking for their third win in a row as the Kings roll into town. We'll preview that game and discuss why tonight is the night Austin Matthews busts the slump. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. If you're going down to the game tonight, you're looking for tickets, use the code LOCKEDONNHL on Gametime, get $20 off your first purchase, courtesy of us, your friends here, the host of the Locked On Leafs podcast. Maple Leafs back in action again tonight, Dave. After being off for a few days, not a lot of games to play this week. They played Saturday. They've been off until today, and then they'll play again until next Saturday. So tonight, we hope we get a good hockey game because there hasn't been a lot of it this week.
Yeah, it's been waiting, a lot of practicing, seeing what's happening at practice. It's like, all right, enough about practice. Let's talk about the games.
We talk about practice. We talk about practice, Dave. Practice. And we're going to continue to talk about practice because there are some practice updates that we got to notify you on what happened on Tuesday. Joseph Woll was on the ice again ahead of practice, but did leave when the main group came on. He is hoping to skate with the team tomorrow for an open skate, an optional skate in the morning. Not expected to play or be activated off IR for the game, though. Sounds like the Maple Leafs are willing to be a little extra cautious here, because Stolarz is playing so well, as is Hildeby. And just, you want to make sure when it comes to Joseph Woll, apparently you need to be extra careful when this guy's dealing with something.
Yeah, you don't want to be 100% sure. You want to be 110% sure.
Yes. So we'll see. John Tavares did return. He missed Monday's practice with an illness, but then returned to the ice. But then we found out that William Nylander had then caught whatever bug is going around in the Maple Leafs dressing room. Apparently, a couple of people got the sniffles, but Nylander was unable to go, was not at practice. He will be a game time decision, according to Coach Berube. So we'll see if William Nylander plays or not. I thought, interestingly, though, if you look at what happened in practice, one of two things, Dave. Either William Nylander is not expected to play. Maybe he's really not feeling good, puking his guts out. I don't know what the situation is. But I don't know if you got this, but it feels like Pacioretty might be the odd man out for this upcoming game also, because the way he was utilized in practice yesterday almost felt like he was a William Nylander placeholder, not only on the second line, but also factoring in on the power play as well. Not somewhere we expect him to be. Power play one, that is.
Yeah, I mean, and I know obviously it's early in the season and we have certain expectations for guys, but like Max Pacioretty, we weren't expecting him to play 82 games. And I think other players have been, the problem with Pacioretty, he's a goal scorer, right? So if he's not scoring goals, what else is he doing? He doesn't put on the penalty kill. He's not good enough to get on the top power play unit. So it makes sense that he'd be the odd man out. I mean, sure, I'm sure it sucks for him, but hey, this is kind of what he signed up for. So
yeah. Yep. And he talked about it today too. Like there's a lot of depth on this team, and there's internal competition, and you got to play well enough to keep and earn your ice time each and every night, not just earn, a contract out of camp. Now you got to remain in the lineup and prove that you're indispensable. And so far, Pacioretty hasn't really done that, I guess. But yeah, so again, it'll all depend, I guess, if William Nylander plays, but that's kind of what the practice lines suggested to me at the very least. Something else that happened in practice that I was very happy to see, Dave, looked like the team was doing some new zone entries on the power play. They had the old whiteboard out and they were trying to do some new things on the power play to hopefully get things cooking. They're 0 for 9 to start the season. They've got Oliver Ekman-Larsson now on the first unit. I think tonight they break out. I think this is where we finally see this team put forward an effort and score one on the power play. It's nice to see that they're taking some extra practice time, some extra reps out there to try and figure out what the problem is, try and work through some things, try and add a new wrinkle to the power play, and maybe it'll kind of come to fruition tonight.
I mean, we've just been. It's just every time the power play is out there and they're obviously not in the zone, I'm always like, this looks like a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's just no. Obviously, you don't want to dump and chase on the power play. It's not the most effective way to zone enter, right? Especially when you have the numbers. And it just like they go in, person comes in with the puck, and it's off to the left, or it's off to the most likely off to the left to the point guy, and it's just like, but there's no there's only one other guy in the zone. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like your entries, and like then the penalty goes, all right, now we're just gonna go pressure the puck, the guy who just got the puck and doesn't have time to really make a play. Like, I just never really understood the way they do it. I know everyone hates the drop pass, but at least the drop pass, you get a guy with some speed. And when a guy's coming in with speed and forces the rest of the penalty killers to retreat back, right? And because the guy's coming at them full steam. I just think that, they need to do something different. We've known they need to do something different. And I'm hoping that now, is it going to be fixed overnight? No, it's going to take a little bit of time, but I'm hoping that with little tweaks, it does help.
And keep in mind, there's a new guy who's also in charge of the power play, right? Like this is no longer Guy Boucher's power play. This is now in the hands of oh boy, why am I
Mark
blanking?
Savard.
Mark Savard, thank you. I want to say Mark Arcabello. I'm like, not the right player at all. Mark Savard, who has did well at the end of last year when he was in Calgary, but they took a while to get going on the power play too. So I don't know if Savard just needs to, learn, okay, what works, what doesn't. And as a team, they need to figure it out. And maybe this is just the early growing pains of that. Eventually that Calgary power play got cooking, right? And when he was in Windsor as the head coach of the Windsor Spitfires, he had those power plays cooking. The 2 years that he was head coach, they finished first and second respectively. On their power play when he was there. So he does have a good hockey mind when it comes to trying to create offense and be creative. So hopefully, yes, this is him just kind of going back to the drawing board and coming up with some new, creative ways to enter the zone and hopefully, confuse the LA Kings tonight and whoever the future opponents are going to be, the other 31 teams in the NHL, and put together a little something different. And we'll see. Again, we're going to get an opportunity to look at it tonight. Oliver Ekman-Larsson will be at the point as the point man as well, which is nice to see. We've been asking for it really since the start of the season, and it looks like it's going to happen going into tonight as well. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll take a look at each lineup, and we'll get to our keys of the game as well coming into tonight. So we'll get to that and more on the other side. I'm Mike DiStefano with Dave Morassutti. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Gametime is a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets to your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Gametime Picks curates and makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater events, whatever you're looking to get tickets for. They've got panoramic views from your seat in the app before you buy, and they've got the lowest price guarantee, or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Today's show is also brought to you by PrizePicks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. PrizePicks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks keeps your lineup live. PrizePicks puts its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Just sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed with any $5 play. PrizePicks is the best way to win real money this season. Which players are going off, which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on PrizePicks. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNHL. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. The Locked On Leafs podcast continues with Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti with you as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, with a brand new episode of the show for you guys, available wherever you get a podcast and also up on YouTube. We got the Maple Leafs taking on the LA Kings tonight down at Scotiabank Arena. Toronto looking to win their third straight game coming into tonight. And I don't know if you saw the last game that the LA Kings were a part of, but that was an interesting game to say the least. 8-7 in overtime. The Kings lost to the Ottawa Senators. Goaltending was optional in that game. And I'll say this, Dave. I mean, you look at goaltending being optional for that club. If you look at Toronto, they've put up a lot of good scoring chances, quality chances. They've dominated a lot of the offensive zones. If Toronto could do that against this LA Kings team, against a spotty goaltender, this should be the night that Toronto erupts. The power play gets going, and Austin Matthews in particular finds himself on the score sheet. That's what I think is possible tonight.
What the Leafs need to do when they go up against a goalie who is struggling is not let this goalie get any confidence. Because, look, Sam Montembeault had a 1-0 shutout in the first game, and the Leafs peppered him with shots all night, but wasn't really tested. What happened in Sam Montembeault's next game? He didn't get a shutout.
Gave up
like
a 5.
He looked a little more human, right? That's it for the Leafs. The Leafs, again, we always talked about, goaltenders or teams doing, that you don't expect that you expect the Leafs to beat, but they don't. Like, who's the goaltender in Chicago last year that pretty much half of his wins were against
Arvid Soderblom?
Let's not treat goaltenders like they're Arvid Soderblom, and let's treat them like they're goaltenders that you should be able to beat pretty handedly.
Yeah, no, I agree. I completely agree with you. Not to say
sorry for the painful memory, by the way, but
yeah,
that's what we do here on the Locked On Leafs podcast.
Look, Darcy Kemper's not a bad goaltender.
No.
Like, he is a good goalie. He had a bad game. But we'll see what ends up happening. Like the Kings, and I mean, we could start breaking down the game, I suppose. Well, why don't we take a look at why don't we actually start with the Kings lineup, because I want to talk in particular about the blue line that the Kings hold. So why don't we take a look at the away side and talk about what the Maple Leafs are going up against tonight. So up front, they've got Alex Laferriere, Kopitar, and Adrian Kempe as their top line. Tanner Jeannot, Philip Deneau, and Trevor Moore as their second line. Fiala, Byfield, Fogle as their third line. Lee, Turcotte, and Lewis as their fourth line. Defensively, it's a pretty bleak squad now that Drew Doughty is injured and out for a few months here. You got Mikey Anderson with Jordan Spence as your top pair, Joel Edmondson and Brant Clark as your second pair, and then Vladdy Gavrikov and Kyle Burrows as your third pair. And then we expect it'll probably end up being why am I blanking on the name there? Kemper. Darcy Kemper. It was blocking. The name was blocking there. Darcy Kemper to be the starter tonight with Riddick backing him up. this doesn't look like a scary lineup, Dave. Like if you have the lineup card and you're just going straight up, all right, on paper, who looks like the better team? It's the Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs should be able to beat this team, especially with a defensive corps that looks that you know weak, for lack of a better word. I don't mean weak as in like physically not strong, because they've got some big dudes, Edmondson, Gavrikov, those are some pretty big guys. I just mean the fact that, you know, the Maple Leafs offensive players should surely be able to work that blue line in their own end and put up some offense.
Oh, especially like you take away a Drew Doughty, a guy who literally plays or was averaging 28 to 30 minutes a night,
Hmm.
and your blue line doesn't look as good because of that. Right. And so this is like a perfect opportunity for the Leafs to take advantage of said lineup because you don't have you to go up against the Doughty. Right. And so, yeah, there are some good players, right? On the blue line, Gavrikov was a guy that they were really excited to get. They signed him to a nice deal. I think he got like that 2 year.
Way too much money. He
Yeah, way
got
too much money
way too much money.
to be a third pairing defenseman for them.
Yeah.
Right.
I think you got like 5.75 or something like that
Yeah.
on like a, yeah, way
And
too
then
much money.
they signed Edmondson. It's going to be a blue line that on paper doesn't look good, but they're gonna work hard. They're gonna try to be physical, right? I mean, Clark isn't the most physical player, right? But they
Mhm.
got guys that are gonna. You got the guys who are like the bruisers, and you got the other guys who are just gonna try to make plays. But I mean, when you see the Ottawa Senators put up 8 goals
Yes.
against this team,
40 shots. Like, they had like 40 some odd shots too.
yeah, it makes you think, okay, opportunity for the Leafs to now. I'm sure the Kings are going to be like, let's not do that again, and they're going to tighten things up a little bit. But there's still opportunity for Toronto to take advantage of said blue line.
I also forgot that they acquired Tanner Jeannot, and so Tanner Jeannot is going to be on that squad. That's kind of a tough line to play. That feels like
Yeah,
a line that would piss you off. No, Jeannot, Deneau, and then Trevor Moore, former Maple Leaf, who always seems to,
yeah.
score
If
on the
you're looking for
Leafs.
a bet for FanDuel, pretty good bet to do anything regarding Trevor Moore
Yeah,
anytime. Like he either scores or registers a point against the Leafs. It's like kind of ridiculous.
yeah, yeah. Former Leafs burning the buds is just a tale as old as time. All right, let's look at the Maple Leafs roster heading into tonight. Because again, couple shakeups from the last game or the start of the last game at the very least. Due to just the team deciding to go in a different direction. Looks like we've got Max Domi remaining down the middle. But we'll start from the top. We got Nyes, Matthews, and Marner. We got McMahon with Domi and Nylander. So this is the projected lineup. Today in practice, it was Pacioretty, but again, that was because Nylander was not there. So my assumption is he was a placeholder, because then the third line was Holmberg, Tavares, and Robertson, and then Lorenz Camp and Ryan Reeves as the fourth line. Um, for me, that's kind of what that told me.
Yeah.
Defensively, you got Riley Tanev, OEL McCabe, Benoit, and Timothy Liljegren likely to make his season debut tonight alongside Simone Benoit on the third pair. Hopefully, Liljegren can have himself a night, because it hasn't been a good start. Didn't have a good training camp, obviously, and he was challenged by the coaching staff to practice better, practice harder, be harder to play against. They didn't see what they wanted to out of him through the couple of preseason games. Sounds like he's tried his best in practice to show, that he is taking orders and improving the way that they want him to. Now it's your time to really show it. Show that you are capable and able and should be the sixth man on this defensive roster, playing alongside Benoit on a nightly basis over Timmins. So I'll be curious to see how Timmy Lills plays tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be talked about a lot in the broadcast. I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of extra eyes on if he makes any mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a situation, unfortunately, Liljegren finds himself in with the spotlight on him like this. But again, if he plays well, it kind of says two things. One, helps his trade value a little bit if that's the way they want to go, or it makes people wonder, why was he sitting, right? Is he finally getting it? Is getting his game together? But it's going to take a lot, I think, for Liljegren to win over this coaching staff, because he had a whole training camp and that wasn't enough for him. And maybe the trade rumors light a little bit of a fire in him, because we've heard like things about his future, but like this is like the first time a trade has ever been kind of come up for Liljegren. I know like maybe during the draft there was a little bit, but like now it's like it's for him. It's like getting a trade might give him that reset that some players look for, but it's also, he said he likes Toronto.
Yeah.
He's been here his whole career. Like, be a bit of a shock to the system if he were to get traded too.
Absolutely, and a humbling experience, I'm sure, right? Like, even right now, being the 7th man, right? The 7th defenseman on a team where he was a first round pick, played most nights last night, like, or last year. He probably figured, all right, I got a $3 million contract. They gave me term. Like, I'm locked in to play every night now. I finally, can breathe. Not so fast. There's a lot of competition and depth on this team. You can't breathe. You got to go out there each and every night and prove to the coaching staff that you deserve to be out there. You are one of the 6 best defensemen on the team. And he's got a chance to do that tonight, right? He's got a chance to at least, throw his hat in the ring and put on tape, hey, I can do what's asked of me. Watch me do it. So excited to see what he's got in store for us tonight. Okay, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll look at the matchup from a team perspective, and then get to the keys of the game tonight. Leafs Kings at Scotiabank Arena. We'll do that next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NHL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. It's North America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll also get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. And you can do all of that right now over on FanDuel.com. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti with you, as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts, and also up on YouTube. Leafs Kings tonight. Toronto looking to win their 3rd straight game. Matthews looking for his first goal tonight. Why don't we take a look at the matchup of both teams coming into tonight's game? So you've got the Toronto Maple Leafs with a 2-1 record, the LA Kings 1-0-2. So they've yet to lose in regulation. They've been able to keep everything pretty close. But here's the when I was looking up this stat, Dave, I was actually shocked to see how high the Maple Leafs 5-on-5 expected goal for rating was, because traditionally you'll see this stat and it's, the best teams in the league are usually hovering around 59, 58. Maybe you can get to 60, 61% if you are the best in the league. Dave, the Toronto Maple Leafs, to the first 3 games, small sample size, but they are by far and away have the best expected goal for percentage at 5-on-5 at 66.8%. What does that tell me? That tells me that the Toronto Maple Leafs have won 66.8% of their minutes at 5-on-5. They have controlled play. They haven't allowed really any amount of chances against them on a nightly basis. And they've been pretty good at, having some good opportunities and some high danger chances themselves so far. I was pretty big discrepancy there. 66.8% compared to the LA Kings, who have like the 4th lowest in the NHL at 41.9%. So Toronto, again, if they stick to their game and they play the way that Craig Berube wants them to, they should have a pretty good night tonight and should be able to generate a lot of chances, just as they've been able to do all year. Oh, did we lose Dave? We might have lost Dave.
Do we got me?
Oh, I got you now. All right, go ahead.
Okay. There's a glitch in the system. Like we talk about this Leafs team, and maybe just a little unlucky, right? A guy like Austin Matthews. getting chances, just hasn't resulted in goals yet, right? So they're doing the right things, especially at 5-on-5. They're cycling really well. They're getting chances. At the same time, I like to see those chances come off, more than just from the sidewall, getting into those dirty areas. I think that's something that will help, with the goal total being up a little bit more than we've seen so far.
Yeah, Austin Matthews, to answer your question, his individual expected goals is 1.1. So he's expected to have a goal to this point in the year. Doesn't have one yet. You know who leads the league in individual expected goals, though? And this might just completely make this stat the most irrelevant stat of all time when they tell you the top three. It's actually crazy. It's Barrett Hayton at number one, leads with 1.87 individual expected goals. Anthony Beauvillier, and then Paul Cotter. That's your 1, 2, and 3. Paul Cotter, yes, so the New Jersey Devils. Now, granted, he's played more games. This is not a per 60 basis. This is just in general. So I think all three of those have probably played, I think 3 or 4, played 4 games to this point, I believe, at least. Cotter's played 5. So there's there is that. So if you go per 60 base, it's probably a little different. But I just thought that was an interesting little stat. Matthew Nyes, though, currently 8th in the NHL. 1.37 individual expected goals at 5-on-5. So the 5-on-5 play, I fully expect the Maple Leafs to control. If we continue to take a look at this preview, that power play is the complete opposite of the 5-on-5. 0%. That's got to change tonight, Dave.
Yeah, I'm getting like if they don't score a power play goal within the next couple games, I where's the patient? How long does the patience go? Right with this, with things, like I don't know how much you can really change. That's the other problem in terms of personnel. But yeah, like they're very fortunate they're playing so well 5-on-5 because this is the special teams could be a make or break for this team. We've seen it many times before, and something's got to start clicking. Now they could go on a run and like score 2. I'll go 2-4, 2-5. We've seen that before, and that'll help up the percentage. But yeah, it's gonna be a long climb back to being, from the top 10. They're usually top 10 in power play percentage throughout the year.
They'll get there. I'm not like
I'm not concerned. I don't think they're going to be at the bottom of the league this year.
But it's not even that long of a climb to get up. They could go 2 for 3 or 2 for 4, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, they got a 15% power play, and then the next one they go 2 for 4. Oh, okay, they're 25% power play. It won't take long for them to get cooking. All they need is a couple of goals in the next couple of games, and all of a sudden it's a respectable looking number again. Which I do anticipate them being there. Just too talented, way too talented. And once Matthews finds the scoring touch, that's when things are going to start to come a little easier. Power play also, right? 5-on-5 and on power play. Once things start dropping for him, things will get easier for the Maple Leafs, and they'll start scoring more goals here. The one other stat that I think is quite interesting, and I was taking a look. The Maple Leafs. So through 3 games, they've allowed 1.67 goals against per game on average. The Maple Leafs have not allowed more than 2 goals in 6 straight games that matter. So that's the last 3 games of the playoffs last year against Boston, and they have not allowed more than 2 goals so far in any of the 3 games this year as well. And again, when you look at that, the expected goal rating, that's kind of why. You look at the penalty kill, 78%, and it's looked even better than I would say the 78%. They're just simply not giving up a whole lot, not giving up a lot of goals, and they're getting solid goaltending. But I think it's defensively, though, they're just not giving up a whole lot of anything in terms of quality chances to their opposition. So I think that, hopefully continues tonight as it has so far through the 3 games. And I think that's also something that's different about this year, that, this Craig Berube system we kind of expected and anticipated them to be more defensive. Proof's in the pudding, right? We heard in this summer that the big thing that Brad Treliving wanted to do was keep the puck out of the net.
Yeah.
So far, so good. They'll look to continue to do that tonight.
Yeah, I mean that's been key for like you watched that Bruins series last year, and what I think annoyed a lot of people is how close those games were, and like when the power play wasn't clicking, that was the difference at a lot of those games. So for me, I really do think the Leafs have put a big commitment into playing better team defense, regardless of what some people think. Like the results and seeing the fact that they haven't allowed more than 2 goals in a game this year really does speak to that commitment. Now it's, can we get the offense to match it? Right? It happened in New Jersey, happened against Pittsburgh. Let's see it when it gets to some really good teams, how that happens, how that, if that stays the same. But yeah, like once you get the power play sorted out, once you get those other things sorted out, if the defense can stay, no, I don't think it's going to be at 1.67
Yeah,
goals against per
that'd be
game throughout
impressive.
the year.
Hello,
That would
William Jennings. Hello, William Jennings.
that would be like 2000s Devils, like neutral
Yeah.
zone trap sort of goals against allowing. But if you can keep it, relatively, low, and the offense comes up, like I think it'll give a lot of people a little more respect for this Leafs team. I
Yeah.
think we're starting to see it turn a little bit with how other people see this Leafs team, but the numbers will especially help in a lot of ways. Giving the Leafs a little more due when it comes to their ability to play in tight games,
Mm.
which
And
they've always been good at.
And I think this is going to be a good litmus test type of game because this is a playoff team that they're playing, and it's one that also wants to be physical and wants to try and get themselves to the center of the ice and get themselves those high danger chances and compete, right? So I think that'll be a good matchup for them. Let's take a look at our keys to the game, the keys to victory for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Dave, I think you look at the first one there. Pressure the weakened Kings blue line. We talked about it earlier in the show, how that's not your typical, championship caliber Kings blue line it once used to be. There was a lot of names down there that, probably you would look at and say, probably more of a third pair guy. They've got like 5 third pair guys essentially on their blue line. So pressure them, make them make mistakes, right? Just get past them. The Senators were able to do it 8 times. The Maple Leafs are a more talented bunch. They should be able, I'm not saying score 8 goals, but definitely should be able to pressure them into making mistakes and open up some space, create some chances, and put pucks in the back of the net tonight.
Yeah, the Leafs have done a really good job at cycling in the zone.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to continue to do that. Like way to kind of, you have to wear down a defense like this. You can't give them easy one and outs. Go in there, take a shot, and it's an easy clear or easy entry out of the zone. You have to wear this blue line down. I think they have they've shown they can do it. I watched when the Leafs played that Detroit team in the preseason. Detroit spent like little to no time in the other end of the ice.
Yeah.
And eventually, when you get it on a roll like that, the other team just gets too, it puts a lot of pressure on them to, tighten things up, or, it's an opportunity for it to take advantage of some, mismatches, and especially with that last, having the last change will help with that.
Yep, absolutely. Really quickly, the other 2 keys tonight, they got to get the power play going. Again, 0 for 9 to start the year. They got to start converting. The thing is, it hasn't been great. Like, it hasn't looked good either. At least like 5-on-5, you can look at the numbers and be like, they're getting a lot of chances, a lot of opportunities. They're going to fall for Matthews. The power play is not getting a lot of chances, not getting a lot of opportunities. It has not looked good at all. The eye test and the analytics will tell you that hopefully changes tonight. And with a new guy up at the point in OEL, maybe they can, sift some pucks through a little more, get traffic to the net. Maybe he scores from the point or create some rebounds and you get some greasy garbage rebound goals of guys just kind of chilling in around the net. So excited to see if the power play can get going tonight. And then the last key to the game, hey, get traffic in front of the goal. Last time that dude was between the pipes, Darcy Kemper, he allowed an 8 spot. So you could probably get to him pretty early on. He'll probably be a little shaken if the Maple Leafs score early and then start scoring often. So you get traffic in front of the net. Don't let him see the puck. And, and then, you get back to the old mantra that I'm pretty sure, again, Berube keeps preaching to these guys. Don't be cute. Just shoot. You shoot with traffic in front of the net. Sometimes you'll find they'll make their way through. All right, Dave. Really quickly before we sign off for the day, I did want to acknowledge the really difficult night in Columbus that the Blue Jackets had, obviously honoring Matthew and Johnny Gaudreau, the Gaudreau brothers, who sadly passed away this offseason. I thought that they did a terrific job honoring them tonight. The tribute video was great. Brought a tear to my eye. And then at the start of the game, for those who didn't see it, the Columbus Blue Jackets elected to start the game with 4 players. They did not have a left winger on the opening faceoff, and they had the opening faceoff. Sean Monahan was out there, won the draw, and then he won it to the left where Johnny Gaudreau would be on the left wing, and they just sat the puck there and they let 13 seconds tick off the ice. Both the Blue Jackets and the Florida Panthers let it happen. 13 seconds ticked off the clock in honor of Gaudreau, obviously, and then whistle went, and then they kind of got going. But I thought that was a great little tribute to Johnny Gaudreau from Columbus, and obviously the Panthers involved in that as well.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of like the first game after Kobe Bryant passed,
Yeah.
and teams did the
8-second violation and
Yeah.
24-second violation.
Yeah, there was a lot of that, and I also want to give a shout out to the banner that they put up, and Monahan, of course, a game like this, he scores and he points right up to the banner. Like it's hard to go through something like this, and I like the way that Columbus has done it, and the fan base, the way that they've supported the team too throughout it. Like it's really heartwarming to see, and like the Gaudreau family being there. Meredith Gaudreau was there tonight as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like obviously tough, but a lot of strength and courage to come out and be a part of the ceremonies. So I thought that was very touching as well.
You wish they would have won the game. You wish it would have been more of a storybook ending, I guess, if they would have been able to win the game. They lost 4-3. It was a competitive game against a difficult team, obviously the defending champs, the Florida Panthers. It doesn't get much more difficult than that. But nonetheless, kudos and a tip of the cap to the Blue Jackets. A great little tribute. And yeah, I thought they did a really, really good job. All right, Dave, that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow to recap the game tonight. Leafs versus Kings. Go Leafs, go. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.